Perfect. And thanks, Mara and Co, for the opportunity for this exciting collaboration. I'm going to start sharing and hand over to Carla to introduce it.
Thank you so much, Mara. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here today. Hello. And before we start our conversation, I would really like to take some time to acknowledge and pay my respects to the traditional custodians of the land in which we connect with you today, reinforcing that this always was and always will be Aboriginal land. So just a quick overview of our AARE SIG. It is currently composed by 34 active members, and these membership numbers have been very consistent since 2021, ranging from 34 to 41 members. We currently have three co-conveners, so Dylan, myself, and Jackie. And we organize all the pre-conference events, conference schedules, reviews, funding opportunities. We work on all the budgeting and all the communication that is provided to the members throughout the year. And this SIG aims to connect researchers with interests in health and physical education, focusing on the dimensions of health, physical activity, and sport. But you'll see that we have many research interests in our SIG since we hold a very open platform to share, communicate, and connect. And that is the sort of environment that we want to maintain and cultivate. And in the last few years, our research interests have been in areas such as curriculum studies, pedagogical approaches, assessment practices, policy, motor learning and development, school health promotion, HB in general, and in particular, this SIG holds a strong historical, social justice, and critical pedagogic perspective, which Dylan is now going to explore a bit further with you, talking about the last year's pre-conference.
Yeah, so last year, myself and Carla are new to the co-conveners role. So previously it was Cassandra Iannucci and Carla Luetti alongside Jackie Peters. And they organized last year's pre-conference symposium, which was titled Critical Dialogues and Diverse Perspectives. It was a free pre-conference, which was for our SIG members, but also for non-members as well, to try and gather as many people as possible. We had keynotes and panel speakers talking about three themes that have derived from First Nations knowledges and perspectives: place, truth, and voice. So in place, we had people and superstars like Lisa Hunter with Richard Tinning as a discussant. In truth, we had people like Jan Wright and Alan Ovens as a discussant. And in voice, we had people like Laura Alfrey and Carla Luetti uh, and Ben Williams as our discussant. From that, what we did, we had these all recorded and we had someone to make videos and taking down some of the notes that was discussed under each theme. And we're going to share one of these with the group now, and hopefully this works. There was no sound with that video properly. There was like elevator music, so that's all you've missed out on. But it was done so to capture the main conversation and dialogue around each of those themes and kind of presented in something different We can use these videos. They're on the website, on the AARE HPE SIG website, and they're pretty good conversation starters to use with our pre-service teachers and other people that we can share this way and share the dialogue in different ways. Next year, oh, no, next year we are planning another pre-conference symposium, which we're hoping that we'll get funding for, so they're going to be free again. And this will be again open to our membership and also to non-members. This symposium will be around intergenerational learning in a changing world. So focusing on the big issues within our field of HPE and HPE Pete, but through an intergenerational positionality. So as the big issues are not the main focus of this, it's the intergenerational piece. So we're looking for volunteers and more prompts will go out to our membership where we'll have a person who is an established academic, a mid-career academic, and an early career academic all come together to discuss one of the big issues and start to learn from that intergenerational perspective. So the whole focus is on learning with and from each other through intergenerational learning. And that's hopefully will be our pre-conference next year. Okay, so that's a very quick overstop to our what our SIG is, who we are, and now we're going to hear from some of our amazing membership, 3 minutes about their research, maybe their program of research, or and what they're presenting at AARE um, this year. Carla, will I throw you on the spot? You can go first.
Yeah, definitely. I don't mind piloting. Okay. Um, just confirming that you can see my screen. Oops, I just can't see you yet. Just give me a second.
Yeah, we can see it, Carla.
Okay. Um, So again, before I start, I would like to acknowledge the Camembert country, and basically not only because I live here, but also because the majority of this work and the data that I collect, particularly in one of these projects here, is situated on this beautiful lands that I'm very, very lucky to be able to live and work in. So I would like to acknowledge and pay my respects to the Camembert country peoples. So my name is Carla Valerio. I'm a health and physical education lecturer at the Faculty of Education in Southern Cross Uni on the sunny Gold Coast, Australia. And what I brought to you today is an overview of my research with the current projects I'm involved in, and a simple overview of what I'll be presenting at AARE conference this year. So one of the main projects I'm involved in is in the field of outdoor and adventure learning. And it is a funded project named Understanding the Use of Social Learning Strategies in Health and Physical Education Outdoor Adventure Programs, investigating an innovative pedagogical approach. And here I have been studying a student-centered immersive program that is based on the Australian HB curriculum. And we have been investigating its potential to turn into a professional learning site for other teachers. I'm also part of a 3-year project with the Mastery Schools Australia that focuses on providing possibilities for professional experiences for undergraduate students. And here we are implementing a model called Teaching Schools. This model was inspired by medicine internships and was reframed to be used in degrees like mine, which are mainly online based and only provide short periods of professional experience until graduation. And this year, I also had a chance to participate in 2 smaller projects, because even though they're small, they're very special to me. Um, and one of them focused on improving assessment practices for teacher educators and pre-service teachers. And I also worked in the coach education space on case studies around the role of the coach developer. Um, I don't know if you know my line of work since my PhD, which is not very big, but I'm very proud of it. But I have continued to write autoethnographic pieces, and this year was no different. I worked on a collaborative autoethnographic project about the journey of early career academics and critical friendship developments. And I also did a self-study. And this year at AARE, I'll be presenting that study that explores my journey as a health and physical education international non-traditional early career teacher educator. And here I'll be exploring the process of identity construction while navigating the complexity of entering this unfamiliar, not only educational, but also disciplinary contexts, because I came from an European PE-based setting to a health and physical education one. So this work will explore my internationalization, especially by looking into the critical moments in my journey um, as a teacher educator with no previous K-12 teaching experience and exploring my identity as an academic for the first time. And I think this is all. Thank you so much. And here's my email. Please feel free to reach out. Um, I think both me and Dylan and Jackie can agree that we really love to engage in partnerships, and it's a genuine will to work together. So, yeah, I'm here. Thank you.
Okay, I will share mine. Thanks, Carla. Similar to Carla, I'll just go through very briefly my program of research and then what I'm presenting at AAORE this year. So, um, for those who don't know me, my name is Dylan Scanlon. I'm a teacher educator in health and physical education at Deakin University in the School of Education and also the co-convener of the HPE SIG. So, in terms of my program of research, one of the main pieces that I do and I'm in, I look at self-study of teacher education practices. So, looking at teacher education identities and connections to practice. Very interested in storytelling approaches, so a lot around storytelling, and also more recently looking at vulnerability in teacher education practice. Also, very interested in social justice pedagogies. So, looking at how we do social justice in teacher education, learning to be and become a socially just educator. And in particular, more recently, the last couple of years, looking at developing and enacting the socially just TPSO approach. And more recently, that pedagogical interrogation of that approach. And it's very exciting that we have a special issue coming out on that soon. I'm also interested in policy and policy preparedness, so teacher educators' understanding of policy and how do we as teacher educators prepare our pre-service teachers to be policy actors and to engage with policy. And finally, um, anything around teacher education is where I am, where I love to do my work. So really advocating for us as teacher educators to work across the teacher education continuum. How do we work with different stakeholders within teacher education, so outside of our own bubbles. Interested in looking at physical education, teacher education practices, and continually asking that question of how do we redesign teacher education for a more meaningful experience for our pre-service teachers. What I'm presenting at AARE is I'm developing an ongoing research that I'm doing on developing a pedagogy of understanding and empathy, which is situated again within self-study of teacher education practices, but gathers data from different spaces around teacher education, pre-service teacher interviews, and graduate teacher emails and planned interviews. And really looking at how do I teach and how do I model understanding and empathy in the context of teaching for social justice in PETE. And I won't answer that question here because you'll have to come to my presentation to find that out. Okay, that's a quick whistle stop tour to my program of research. And I will pass the baton on to Dave.
Thanks, Dylan. I'm going to try and share my screen now. Um, that sharing, Dylan?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Oh, it's going to have to ask me to quit and reopen, Dylan. Do you want to move on to someone else?
Yeah, Victoria.
And then I'll come back.
Could everyone just see that then? Just double checking. Or no?
I
Is
think
my screen
you're share.
sharing?
I think you're just sharing the Zoom app, Victoria.
Oh, it's not letting me share them. Bear with me one moment. Sorry about this.
Our Western
No
Australian
problem.
colleagues.
Um, what
You can
about
also
now?
always share it with like Dylan or I, and we can share it for you.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Oh, it's coming up now, I think.
Yep.
Yeah?
Mm,
Is that sharing now?
I think it's a part of it sharing. Is that Carla for you?
Yeah, partly sharing.
I
Okay.
don't know what.
Um, I'll
Does somebody
just,
else? Yeah, sorry.
Okay,
If you want, I can go next. I don't have any slides. I'm
yeah,
also
oh,
with
yeah, that would be lovely.
while
feel
my
free, yeah.
colleagues fix all their technical issues. Hi, everyone. I'm Valeria, and I'm at Edith Cowan University together with Vicky and David. So we're having some technological issues here early in the morning. I don't know if you remember Mara. We met quite a few years ago when I was a PhD student. I went to work with Laura Sarito for a few weeks. Yeah, and you were there, and I remember that you took me to a pub together with Risto, and yeah, I had a really good time there. So yeah, just in case you don't remember, it was like many years ago. Yeah, I didn't prepare any slides for today, but yeah, basically, well, I work in physical education, teacher education here in Perth, beautiful Perth. My research area is usually, or yeah, before at least, about the body from a social culture perspective. That's what I have been researching since my PhD. Now I'm moving more towards a little bit health education. Yeah, and I have been moving around, so I have a few projects with some colleagues from Sweden. Yeah, we're focusing on health education with migrant students in Sweden and how they encounter that sometimes that clash when they arrive to Sweden and they start going to school and start learning about health education. So yeah, together with Tim Barker, that he's currently here in Perth, we are going to be presenting that at AARE. Yeah, and I have a few other small projects, one of them together with Vicky here at ECU. We are at early stages, but hopefully maybe for next AARE, we're going to have something else to present there. Yeah, that's basically me.
Thank you so much, Valeria. Um, anyone ready to go next? I don't know if you noticed, but my email is on the chat. If you want to send your slides, I can share them for you.
I've
So,
sent you my slides, Carla. Sorry, just to chip in on that one. Thank you.
I think Sonia, you
Okay,
said you'll go next then.
I have no slides. I'm happy to go next if you guys are cool with that.
perfect.
Awesome. Great. I'm Sonia. I'm from the University of Sydney as a student, and I teach at Macquarie University as staff, which is a really weird situation, I think, to be in. I'm right at the end of my PhD, and I've just got ethics to go into schools and do some work with the TPSR framework, which Dylan mentioned just before. So my whole emphasis is on social outcomes in PE. So we're looking at, all the different theories. The sport education model is one you might be familiar with, and teaching games for understanding. We've chosen not to go down those two roads, and we're looking at TPSR instead because it's been underrepresented in Australia. So we thought we'd do something with it here and see what happens, roll the dice and hope for the best. And I've got quite a good international network with the TPSR people, but I actually just thinking as you guys were talking that I've actually been quite isolated from everyone else locally. At Macquarie University, there's only two HPE people, and one of them is away a lot. So I'm really the only one in the space at my university. So yeah, I think I've just been really isolated from the community, and I think this is really a good opportunity for me to catch up and to maybe meet up with some of you guys and to collaborate if you're keen. But yeah, I'm looking at social outcomes. There's a lot out there. There's a lot of different things. There's not a lot of consistency in this part of research, as opposed to the other sort of stuff that we have around. But yeah, that's where I'm at. Almost finished my PhD. Have some publications in the works. Doing small little projects with international audiences, and the Americans have been so welcoming and generous with their collaboration. So hopefully I'll get to do a little bit more of that moving forward. But really excited to present at ARE. I've completed a systematic review on some of the TPSR interventions that are already out there. So that's what I'll be presenting. I'm on Tuesday, so if you want to come and have a listen, that would be great, just to connect if you are attending. But that's me.
Sonia. Dave, will I share yours?
I'll try again, Dylan, and if I don't pass this, I can't show my face at work this morning with Valeria and Vicky later. So I'll try sharing again. Oh yeah, it's working. So you should be able to see that now.
Perfect.
Yay. Okay. So morning everyone. My name's Dave or David Aldous, and I'm a senior lecturer at Edith Cowan University. So as the slide shows, I've relocated from Wales to Wajak Noongar lands in 2023, and I've been a member of AARE now for, I think my membership says just over 12 months. So like Vicky and Valeria, who are here today, I'm a member of the ECU Sport, Health and Education Research Community, and I think I'll be the only one to say this probably, but we're led by Professor Dawn Penny, so I get extra points for mentioning her name this morning as well. So my research is currently focused on two areas. I'm working with colleagues like Dylan on what I would say is the ongoing transformation of health, outdoor and physical education in university institutions, and particularly teacher education. And my second area of work is exploring the possibilities of outdoor and nature-based activities for liberal vocational learning that is lifelong and life-wide in its focus. Ultimately, both my areas of research are about enhancing people's well-being and enabling them to actively contribute to their communities, particularly in how we respond then to social health and environmental challenges facing society. So hopefully you can see the second slide. I'm going to give Dylan the heads if we can see that one. Great. So my second area, which I'm going to be presenting at AARE, I'm working with Dawn to explore the possibilities of how outdoor activities provide liberal vocational learning across industry and institutionalized education in Western Australia. So we take a sociological approach to this, and our first paper you can see in the top left-hand corner really highlights the relations, knowledges and identities of outdoor education in Western Australia. And what we argue is, particularly in terms of outdoor education in Western Australia, is how outdoor education currently constrains possibilities for that lifelong, life-wide learning, and denies the ability for young people to enhance their own and others' lives. So in response to that, then we've got three research foci that we want to start driving forward. And the first proposes progressive relations across industry, third sector, and education to redesign what we call qualification structures and educational experiences. The second advocates then for equitable access to what I call powerful knowledges that enable lifelong and life-wide learning. And the third one then focuses on the redesign of subject and professional identities. So we have more flexibility and we have more focus on the balance between theory and practice. So using those three research foci, we're currently engaged with pilot projects that use co-design and design thinking principles that I developed with Fiona Chambers and colleagues to work with industry and third sector in WA and Wales. And these projects are really looking at how we can revision vocational learning across these sectors through nature-based and outdoor learning activities. And like everyone else, then, if you want to hear more about that work, I think we're presenting on Wednesday morning, and you're all welcome to come along and listen to more. The QR codes on the slides give you access to the papers as well. So thanks.
Thank you so much, Dave. I'm so excited for your presentation and to learn more with you. Risto asked in the chat if you wouldn't mind to define liberal vocational learning.
Sure, thanks, Risto. Liberal vocationalism is the opposite to traditional vocational education, and vocational education traditionally prepares young people for work in industry and other work sectors. So vocational education being focused on employment and that preparation from school into industry. Liberal vocationalism is where we are preparing young people for society and that idea of active citizenship. So it's looking at the idea of how outdoor education, Carlo, and we'll have some further conversations around that, prepare young people to become members of their communities, but also reimagining what kind of work we will need to have in the future. So our current kind of industry-based work will not be relevant in 20 to 30 years' time. And what role does outdoor learning play in that? Risto can read the paper for further insight into our work around that.
Thank you so much, Dave. Thank you. So who's next? Oh, I think Dylan organized everything in the chat. Thank you. Jawan, hopefully I'm saying it right.
Yeah, you're correct. Well, I don't have the slides. I just will directly talk about me and my research. So hello everyone. My name is Jia Yuan, and I'm a third year PhD student in the University of Auckland, New Zealand, supervised by Professor Katie Fitzpatrick and the Associate Professor Darren Power. I'm originally from China and did my master degree in Saitama University, Japan. And now I'm in New Zealand. So my research interest is about health and physical education under the global context, especially the policy part. My current research is related to critical discourse analysis towards HPE curriculum policy in New Zealand, China, and Japan through the lens of Foucault. Compared to other academic subjects, HPE occupies an uneasy position in curriculum in many places, and it frequently collapses with health interventions or the improvement of physical activity. And in many countries, including China, Japan, New Zealand, Australia, or the UK, health education is directly connected to physical education in curriculum policy. However, the relationship between these two areas, like health education and the physical education, can be very different meanings and effects. We all call it HPE or PEH, but the H in these words can be different, and the PE and H are also interacting with each other. So my supervisor and I, we joined on a study into official HPE curriculum policy in New Zealand, China, and Japan, and undertake a critical discourse analysis into the explanation of how the construction of HPE discourses become reasonable in these different social, culture, and geographical contexts, and examine what HPE stands for in school policy. And our another paper has been accepted by AERA next year. So I'm looking forward to seeing you all in both WARE and AERA next year. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We also look forward to seeing you. Victoria, if you want to go next, I have your slides.
Thanks for that, Carla. I appreciate that. Okay, so hi everyone. Apologies for the technical difficulties. So my name is Vicky and I'm an international scholarship student at Edith Cowan University. I have a BSc in Sport and Physical Education and a Master's in Sport Coaching and Pedagogy, both from Cardiff Metropolitan University in Wales, which is where I'm initially from. And I guess this is where my research interests in policy and curriculum reform and people's experiences of those stemmed from. So particularly my research has looked at initial teacher education, but physical education, teacher education specifically, through my undergrad now into my PhD. So I'm just going to provide a very whistle-stop tour brief overview of what I'll be presenting at AARE, which includes my ongoing PhD research along with our recent publication, which you can see in the top right-hand corner along with the QR code that links to the paper. And I'd like to acknowledge Professor Dawn Penny and Dr. David Aldous, who are not only the co-authors of the paper with me, but also two of my PhD supervisors, which I'm extremely lucky and privileged to have. Carla, do you mind going to the next slide, if that's okay, please? Thank you so much. Okay, so I'm doing an ethnographic study of physical education, teacher education professionals embodying policy work in Western Australia. So I'm really interested in the corporate reality of policy work and the way that the body is integral to how discourses from policies, histories and cultures interact with people's internal dispositions and are reproduced and elaborated through everyday practice. So the research focus and direction embodying policy work applies and extends concepts informed by Bernstein's work, particularly the pedagogic and corporeal devices, to understand how policies, historical and cultural norms of a context shape peak professionals' policy work and the individual and collective embodying of that and how that is expressed through everyday practice. So, for example, through professional social interactions and actions, their practices, their languages, so what is said and what isn't said, and their identities down to, what people wear and their emotions as well. And then the potential meanings that are generated and communicated through that, in relation to the identities of P&P professionals. So the theoretical framing of the study, as outlined in the paper, explores three interrelated sets of rules that direct and limit professional work and identities. And the heuristic framework, which you can see on the screen at the moment, was employed in designing and undertaking my ethnographic study, which centered on one higher education institution in WA. So I've completed my data collection and I've published my conceptual framework, and I'm now using that to analyze my data. So that is very much an ongoing process and where I'm at. But on the screen are just some qualitative illustrations. So they're not findings at the moment, but I just wanted to give you a flavor of something that I'm seeing and exploring in the data. For example, the changes in stability in culture and cultural identity, as well as the tensions between researcher versus teacher, theorist versus practitioner, and teacher versus non-teacher. But the paper and my research very much prompt reflection on what professionals embody in their everyday practices, why and how it unfolds as it does, and the implications for teacher educators and future teachers. But yeah, that's everything from me. So thank you for the opportunity to present my work.
Amazing, Victoria. Who's ready to go next?
Hello, everyone. Okay. My name is Li Yang, and I studied at the University of Auckland.
this is my beginning of my second year PhD. And this is my first time to attend such an event. So I prepare a little different. Now I will share the research I just conducted. This August, I conducted a 2-month field study in China to understanding the subjective experiences of senior high school students receiving social and emotional learning. It contains 4 video recorded lessons, 34 semi-structured interviews, and 32 pieces of students' homework analysis. In the next 2 minutes, I will present 3 key initial findings from 32 interviews of grade 12 students. The first is grade 12 students in China have the general academic anxiety. All students mentioned social interaction, academic performance, and the confusion and anxiety about their future directions. And one student even told me that society says that 高考 is important, but no one tells college entrance examination candidates how to relieve stress. It can reflect that the impact of the high-pressure environment prevalent in the current Chinese education system on students' mental health. And different students adopted different strategies to cooperate the pressures. And their cognitive beliefs in the value of emotions are different. Some of them are positive and others are negative. And I found that their experiences are connected to their personal experience or family background, such as family divorce, friends' cold violence, teachers' ignorance, and some personal depression experiences. After conducting the 4 courses, this is selected to align with Castle's core competencies and critical thinking elements. So course activities are varied and interactive, including music listening, emotional recording, scenario role play, generaling of emotions, value action and action plans, conflict simulation, and ethnic dilemma discussions, and so on. All students believe that social and emotional education is important in relieving stress and promoting mental health. Reflects the need for education content and for. Sorry. Thank you. And I also found that students have unique emotional needs and learning styles. So the social and emotional learning should meet the individualized educational needs. Another point is that, sorry. Many emotional and social problems are already evident in students' early years. So social and emotional learning should start earlier and can be a long-term follow-up. Last, Students hope that social and emotional learning is not just taught in theory. This is the traditional teaching way in China, but through more practical activities and longer experimental learning periods, so that they can apply the skills they have learned. Thank you for your attention.
Great. I think if my calculations are right, that is everyone. Am I right in saying that? Yeah, so thank you so much to everyone, and particularly for those who were presenting for the first time. You're amazing. Um, but yeah, and I think that kind of shows an insight into the research in AARE, the HP SIG. It kind of shows the real, what Carla was talking about at the start, that strong social justice, critical pedagogy, sociological underpinning to the research that's done within our SIG, and the membership. So yeah, excited for dialogue, conversations, and potential collaborations.
So do people have questions? I would love to have some dialogue. I definitely have some questions, but I want to definitely open it up to other people who are attending to ask either about the research that was presented or also just about like AARE and how that works and what it's like in Australia and New Zealand compared to the US. I definitely have some sort of process questions that I'd be interested, but definitely first opening it up to other people. Other questions? All right. Well, I'll ask my questions to all of you, which I think for me, you know, health and physical education in the US are not particularly like the field, I'm sorry, the field is not like particularly high status, I guess, and we don't often get a lot of attention. And so I'm wondering, in general, is health and PE given, do you think, more like attention and status in Australia and New Zealand? And because of that, like, do you have trouble maintaining membership in your SIG? You know, how is the conference attended? And are there other professional organizations that people are a part of as well? Or is this like the predominant one?
Dylan, I will try and you'll help me out here. Because Mara, the funny thing about Australia is that the majority of us are internationals. So in terms of background context or leaving the profession or having those experiences, we don't have it. We came here, the majority of us are to study or as teacher educators already. But what I can say about the conference is that the conference is held, this particular one, very based on education, is the biggest in Australia. So they have numerous SIGs for everyone, being the HPE one of them. And what I sense is it depends on the location of the conference and the team that the whole conference is holding. And compared to last year, for example, where we had that pre-conference around social justice, that free event for everyone, the attendance was very high. And this year we have half of the participants. And we actually got funded for the pre-conference this year, but we didn't have enough participants to develop their intergenerational sort of collaboration that we wanted to do. So that hence why we are moving it to 2025, sorry. So I feel like it depends on location, and it's a very expensive conference, in my opinion, for the majority of us. So it might not be a priority in a year that you want to do an international conference, for example, in your specific field, your area of work, or let's say to me this year and for Dylan, and others that are Europeans. We flew to Finland for IESET this year, and it is a big expense. Going to AARE adds to that, and we don't have internal funding in our institutions to cover everything. So I can see that it comes and goes in terms of participation. It's not heterogeneous. I cannot tell you that we'll have 50 participants every year because we don't. And I'm not sure if that is related to the status of HP and the way it is seen in educational terms in Australia. I think it's very much related to funding opportunities for us teacher educators. Good thing about the pre-conferences and the fact they are free, and we got the funding from AARE to organize the conferences, is that we can also have teachers and pre-service teachers there that want to come and spend some time and learn and share with us. Whereas the conference itself, it's very expensive, and we totally understand the low attendance in that regard. Dylan, do you want to add something?
Yeah, I can Sonia might be able to help us out here. As Sonia, I think you're
Yeah.
the only Australian in the room, but in terms of status, at a teacher education level and an academic community level, I think there is a high status within the HP community in Australia and New Zealand, solely down to the big names in the field who all, a lot of them reside down this way. So they've created a very um, a high status for the subject in teacher education and academic communities. Now, in schools, I'm presuming it's the black sheep like everywhere else in the world. But Sonia, you might be able to help us out here.
Yeah, I can definitely comment. I went through the system as a student, went through the PE system as a student myself, and then I became a teacher in high school settings, and then I moved to tertiary, so I can definitely comment. It is undervalued in schools. There's a lot of competition with English and science and maths, which are the stronger um, subjects that are tested. So we have what we call NAPLAN here, and NAPLAN is a test in the school system that only considers English, maths, and science. And so the curriculum is really basically made up of focus on those three subjects, and everything else just sort of gets pushed to the side with, very little attention given to PE at school level. I agree with what Dylan has said. There are lots of researchers in the Australian context who have tried to really raise the profile. People like Dr. Dean Dudley, Louisa Peralta, all of these people that you might have heard of really have tried to push in the Australian context, and things are changing. But yeah, it's quite undervalued, I would say.
And just one small point to add on to that, and Dave's comment there around that the HP curriculum is at a national level, and then the states get to interpret that and design their own HP curriculum from that. So depending on the state as well, that will differ. So in Victoria, here in the state that I'm located in, has a very strong HP curriculum because they have a very strong curriculum development team. So that will change depending on the state as well. But having a national curriculum, I think, is an advantage to HPE in Australia.
Yeah, I agree. Dylan, let me just add another thing because I think Mara, you asked about this. Yes, we do have other organizations. We have ASPER, for example, that is divided per also per state. So you'll have ASPER Queensland, ASPER New South Wales. They often work together, and they also have conferences. And there's also different conferences, like, for example, the PDHP annual conference that is mainly organized by school teachers. But they also invite and are very open to the research community presence, and they have quite often very good keynotes there. But yeah, we have more organizations, so we have a big offer when it comes to conferences and organizations in HB.
Can I just add
Valeria?
something there? Because our group, the HP group in AARE, has changed a lot through the years. And I can say that because I think I have been around for quite a few years, like 15 years in AARE. And you could see before that this group, it was much more exclusive, more, yeah, Australian participants. And now you can see that it has opened up to more like young academics, international academics, but it wasn't like that a few years ago. So I could see that change, probably for the better, but yeah, it wasn't like that before.
Thank you, Valeria. That's very good to know.
Yeah, I feel
That's
old here
very good
because
to know.
I was thinking I have been here like for a few years already. Yeah,
Yeah.
many of you are quite new in the group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. I think, we face some similar challenges in the US and similar experiences in that we have like SHAPE, which is our like sort of teacher organization, and also just a general sense of like, like anti-education right now in the US and anti-research. And so when you put that with like low status PE, it just sometimes feels like, will we continue as a field? I don't know. And, like our submissions this year for AERA were lower than we've had in the past. And just wondering if, what the vibe is over there, if it's similar to here, where right now, I don't feel the best about the support that, we as researchers might be receiving.
I think, Mara, that emphasized the importance of work like this, where we can support each other and build each other up. So we shouldn't be working, and that's why I'm happy this went ahead. We shouldn't be working within our country bubble or within our institution bubble or in our state bubble. We should be working across, and I think there's strength in numbers. Um, and if we can start more collaborative stuff across that internationalization piece, the learning that comes from that is huge. So what works in one place can work somewhere else. So I think the collaboration piece and the internationalization piece, particularly for early career, I'll always advocate for us early career academics. I think that's super important.
Yeah, that's exact. You're totally right. That, I mean, just this alone, like, wow, we've got doctoral students who are doing incredible work, and then we've got early career and mid-career. And truly, I want to work with you all. So thank you for this. Any other comments or questions? Or if anyone has questions about the US side of things, I've been program chair for, this is my third year at AERA, which we're a SIG of the larger organization. And then I've been a member of AERA since 2011 when I was a doctoral student. So I'm also happy to answer, and Risto is here too, who's been a member of AERA as long as I have been as well. So I don't know, other comments or questions. Happy to open it up for the last minute or two.
I think you raised some really excellent questions, Mara. I've been around long enough now for these themes to be enduring, as someone once said. But I think in terms of status, I think the status, it feels that when we talk about the Australian context, but this might be like North America, that status then, as Dylan alludes to, varies from state to state. So the traditional status of HP in Western Australia, from one angle, is quite strong. We have a strong kind of professional community. Our ACHPA conference is on at the moment, and we have teachers attending that, but it is a very traditional status. And so I think the question for me is how does status evolve, and to what extent do we have to evolve with it as well? So talking to a colleague this week, I think the distance between university and then what happens in the HPE community, certainly in Western Australia, is growing. And so to what extent can things like the SIGs reconnect to the teaching profession and give them possibilities and futures? Because I agree as well. I think sometimes it's quite dystopian at the moment. The status of HPE research is always an ongoing one as well, and that's having moved international borders. It's interesting how the same conversations come up with directors of research, constitutes good research, quality research, and all of those things as well. So I think for me, really rich and connected SIGs have a space for advocacy to show that quality as well. As you said, listening to the range of work, we do some really interesting stuff. It's about, I guess my question is, how do we then connect that and translate that into practice in the classroom? And some of that, sometimes when I listen to teachers, they have a very interesting traditional sense of what we do in teacher education in Australia. So I think there's some work to do, and I think Sonia's work about going back into schools, I think connecting with that micro level of the classroom, I think that is important work that we can do, and sharing that and raising the possibilities of it with others.
Yeah. I mean, that is always the challenge, right? From theory to practice and how we make those connections. Definitely, definitely. And what I really liked and was intrigued about your SIG is like the way social justice and critical work seems to play such a large role. And I'm not sure if we are quite there in the US in terms of our organization and our research. So I hope that we can keep making bridging these two way across many ponds all the way there and work towards each other in that way. Yeah. All right, any other comments or questions from anybody really for the group? We're sort of at the end of I think it's scheduled to go through 6 or whatever. I don't know what, I have no idea what time it is there, but it's probably not 6 in the evening unless it's tomorrow. Yeah, any last thoughts? Anyone? I don't want to cut anyone off.
I just want to say I think I'm always very intrigued with what is going on in Australia. I went to grade school in Sydney, Australia, and it was a much different experience than it is here. And just reading the literature and whatnot, I'm always very curious in what's developing over there. It sounds like you have a lot of great things going on.
Yeah, sometimes it feels like Australia is like the standard that we like aspire to be. So keep up the good work and we'll try and meet you there. Sorry. And thank you all for being patient with this. On that note,
thank you, Mara,
you to
for
everyone.
organizing.
Yeah. And feel free to stay on and chat, but it's 6:03, so go to whatever you have next. I hope you have a great conference. And thank you again.
Yeah, thank you for organizing. You're all welcome to Australia anytime. We have sofas.
Yep.
and good coffee.
Exactly. See you
Bye,
soon.
Thanks, everybody.
All right.
See you
Take
at
care,
AARE.
everybody. Thank you again.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Bye.